The massive creature stood 12 feet tall, its 6 muscular arms ending in claws that could tear through starship hull plating. Black scales covered its body like natural armor, and, for red eyes burned with intelligence and fury. The Korathian war beast had never been defeated in combat. Not once in its 47 years of life. Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Coalition Navy watched from behind reinforced glass as his best soldiers lay unconscious on the training ground. The war beast had knocked them out without breaking a sweat. Its name was Grimjaw, and it had been captured during the last battle with the Korathian Empire 3 months ago. Since then, dozens of Coalition experts had tried to study it, train with it, or simply communicate with it. All had failed. "Sir, perhaps we should consider termination," suggested Commander Rylak, a tall blue-skinned Zentarian with worried eyes. "This creature is too dangerous to keep alive." Admiral Vextar shook his gray head. "No. Intelligence reports say the Korathians are breeding thousands of these things. If we can understand how they think, how they fight, we might find a weakness. The war depends on it." The war had been raging for 5 years now. The Korathian Empire had emerged from the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge with technology that matched the Coalition's and creatures that surpassed anything they had ever seen. Grimjaw was just one example. These warbeasts served as living weapons, each one worth a squadron of fighters in battle. Dr. Sarah Chen, the Coalition's top xenobiologist, stepped forward. She was one of the few humans in the high command, her species having joined the Coalition only 50 years ago. Most aliens still considered humans to be primitive newcomers, despite their rapid technological advancement. "Admiral, I've been studying the creature's behavior patterns," she said, holding up a datapad. "It shows clear signs of intelligence. Complex problem-solving abilities. It's not just a mindless killer. Then, why won't it respond to any of our attempts at communication?" Admiral Vextar asked. "I think it's choosing not to," Dr. Chen replied. "Look at this footage from yesterday." She activated a hologram showing Grimjaw in its cell. A group of Zentarian linguists had been trying to establish basic communication using mathematical concepts. The war beast had watched them carefully, its 4 eyes tracking their movements. At one point, it had begun scratching symbols into the wall with its claws. The symbols were clearly mathematical in nature, showing it understood the concepts being presented. But, when the linguists had tried to build on this breakthrough, Grimjaw had simply turned away and ignored them. "It's playing with us," Commander Rylak said with disgust. "Showing us it's smart enough to understand, but refusing to cooperate. Or maybe it's testing us," Dr. Chen suggested. "Trying to figure out what we want from it." The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the station as a voice announced, "All personnel to battle stations." Korathian fleet detected approaching the system. Admiral Vextar rushed to the command center, followed by his officers. The main screen showed a massive enemy fleet dropping out of hyperspace. 40 warships, including 3 of their dreaded dreadnoughts. The Coalition had only 12 ships in the system. "How did they find us?" Commander Rylak demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied the communications officer. "But they're heading straight for the research station." Admiral Vextar realized the terrible truth. They're not here by accident. They know we have Grimjaw. They've come to rescue him. The battle began within minutes. Coalition ships moved to intercept the Korathian fleet, but they were badly outnumbered. Plasma cannons lit up space as the two forces clashed. The research station shook as enemy missiles exploded against its shields. In his cell deep within the station, Grimjaw felt the vibrations of battle. His 4 eyes began to glow brighter. He stood up from where he had been sitting and moved to the reinforced door of his prison. For the first time in months, he spoke, his voice a deep growl that the translation computers could barely process. "My people come," he said in broken Coalition standard. "You die now." Dr. Chen was in the observation room when she heard this. She had been monitoring Grimjaw when the battle started, hoping to see how he reacted to the stress. Now she watched in fascination as the creature began to change. His muscles swelled larger. His claws extended another inch. His scales seemed to darken and thicken. "He's entering some kind of combat state," she reported over the intercom. "His physiology is actually changing." On the main screen, the battle was going poorly for the Coalition. Two of their ships had already been destroyed, and the enemy was pushing closer to the station. The shields were down to 60% and falling. "We need to evacuate," Commander Rylock urged. "Get the research data and abandon the station." But Admiral Vextar was thinking about something else. "Dr. Chen, you said the creature shows signs of intelligence. Complex reasoning. What if we could convince it to help us?" "Help us?" "Sir, it just said we're going to die." "But what if it doesn't want to die either? This station has no escape pods large enough for a creature his size. If we're destroyed, he goes down with us." Dr. Chen considered this. It was a desperate idea, but they were in a desperate situation. It might work. "But how do we communicate with something that's been ignoring us for months?" "We offer it what it wants most," the Admiral replied. "Freedom. Dr." Chen made her way to Grimjaw's cell as the station shook around her. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. When she reached the observation room, she could see that Grimjaw had grown even larger. He was now nearly 14 feet tall, his body having expanded to maximum combat readiness. She activated the communication system. "Grimjaw, can you hear me?" The creature's four eyes turned toward the camera. He said nothing. "I know you understand me. I know you're smart enough to realize that if this station is destroyed, you die too. Your people might be coming to rescue you, but they're going to be too late." Grimjaw tilted his massive head, considering her words. "But I can offer you something," Dr. Chen continued. "Help us drive off your fleet, and we'll give you a ship. You can go home." The Warbeast moved closer to the camera, his red eyes burning with interest. "You lie," he growled. "No lie. Admiral's orders. Help us, and you go free." For a long moment, Grimjaw stared at the camera. The station shook again as more enemy fire struck the shields. Alarms were sounding throughout the facility. "What you want me do?" he finally asked. Dr. Chen felt a surge of hope. "The Korathian ships have a weakness. Their shield generators are vulnerable to specific frequencies of energy. You know those frequencies, don't you?" Grimjaw's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Yes. I know. Tell us the frequencies, and we can modify our weapons. We can win this battle." But Grimjaw shook his head. "No. You not understand. Frequencies change. Random pattern. I must be there. I must guide weapons." Dr. Chen's heart sank. "You want us to let you out of your cell? During a battle?" "Is only way," Grimjaw said simply. The station lurched violently as something massive struck the shields. Over the intercom, she could hear Admiral Vextar shouting orders. They were losing the battle, and losing it fast. Dr. Chen made a decision that would change everything. "I'm going to trust you, Grimjaw. Don't make me regret it." She entered her authorization code and began the process of opening the cell. Layer after layer of security systems deactivated. The massive door, designed to hold the strongest creatures in the galaxy, slowly began to open. Grimjaw stepped out into the corridor, his enormous form filling the space. For a moment, Dr. Chen wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. The creature could kill her with one swipe of his claws. Instead, he looked down at her with something that might have been respect. "You brave, little human," he said. "I remember this." Together, they made their way to the command center. Coalition officers gasped and reached for their weapons when they saw Grimjaw enter the room. Admiral Vextar held up his hand to stop them. "He's here to help," the Admiral announced, though Dr. Chen could hear the doubt in his voice. Grimjaw looked at the main screen, where the battle continued to rage. His four eyes studied the tactical display with surprising intelligence. "You losing," he observed. "Yes," Admiral Vextar admitted. "We're losing badly." "Not anymore," Grimjaw growled. He moved to the weapons control station, his massive hands somehow managing to work the controls despite their size. "I guide your guns. You hit them where it hurts." For the next hour, something unprecedented happened. A Korathian warbeast fought against his own people, directing coalition weapons with deadly precision. Under Grimjaw's guidance, the human and alien gunners began hitting targets they had never been able to touch before. Shield generators exploded on Korathian ships. Engine pods were severed with surgical precision. The tide of battle began to turn. Coalition ships that had been retreating suddenly found themselves with the upper hand. Enemy vessels that had seemed invincible moments before began to suffer critical damage. But Grimjaw paid a price for his betrayal. Dr. Chen watched as the creature's massive frame began to shake with each shot he guided against his own people. She could see the conflict in his 4 red eyes. This was tearing him apart inside. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why are you doing this?" Grimjaw didn't look away from his work. "Because you trusted me," he said simply. First time in 47 years, someone trust Grimjaw. The battle ended with the retreat of the Korathian fleet. They had lost half their ships and accomplished nothing. The research station was saved, and Grimjaw had proven himself to be far more than just a mindless weapon. As the last enemy ship disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Vextar approached Grimjaw. The massive creature stood quietly at the weapons station, his hands still on the controls. "You saved us," the Admiral said. "All of us." Grimjaw turned his 4 eyes toward the Admiral. "Now I go home?" Admiral Vextar hesitated. The strategic value of keeping Grimjaw was enormous. With his help, they could win battles, maybe even the war. But a promise was a promise. "Yes," he said finally. "You can go home." But Dr. Chen stepped forward. "What if he doesn't want to go home? What if we offered him something else?" Grimjaw looked at her with curiosity. "What you mean?" "I mean, what if you stayed? Not as a prisoner, but as a member of the coalition. You've seen how we fight now. You know we're not the monsters your people say we are. Maybe you could help us find a way to end this war without more killing." For a long moment, Grimjaw considered her words. Around the command center, coalition officers watched in tense silence. They were witnessing a moment that would echo through galactic history. "I think about it," Grimjaw said finally. "But first, you show me something." "What?" Dr. Chen asked. "You show me others like you. Other humans. I want to understand why you different. Why you trust when others fear." Dr. Chen smiled. "I can do that. There's a human research team 2 levels down. Families too, including children." Something changed in Grimjaw's expression at the mention of children. His red eyes softened slightly. "Children?" "Yes. Human children. They're special. You'll see." As they left the command center together, Dr. Chen had no idea that this simple decision would lead to the most important moment in the war. She was just following her instincts, trusting a creature that had trusted her first. But, in the research sections below, a 6-year-old human girl named Emily was about to change everything. Not with weapons or strategy or complex plans. But, with something much simpler and far more powerful. One word that would stop a war. The research section of the coalition station buzzed with nervous energy as Dr. Chen led Grimjaw through the corridors. Word had spread quickly about what happened during the battle. A Korathian warbeast had fought against his own people to save the station. Scientists and support staff peered around corners and through doorways, catching glimpses of the massive creature as he passed. Grimjaw noticed their stares but seemed unbothered by them. His 4 red eyes took in everything around him with keen interest. The living quarters, the recreational areas, the small gardens where humans grew earth plants under artificial sunlight. This was all new to him. Korathian ships were built for war, not comfort. "Your people live strange," he commented as they walked past a section where off-duty personnel were playing games and socializing. "Strange how?" Dr. Chen asked. "Together. Mixed. Warriors and builders and thinkers all in same place. Korathians keep separate. Warriors with warriors. Workers with workers." Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "We found that mixing different types of people makes everyone stronger. New ideas come from putting different minds together." They stopped at a large observation window that looked out at space. The debris from the recent battle was still visible, glinting in the light of the nearby star. Grimjaw stared at the wreckage of ships from both sides, his expression unreadable. "You feel bad about what happened?" Dr. Chen asked gently. Grimjaw was quiet for a long time. Korathians taught me that coalition evil. That you destroy everything good. But, you. He turned to look at her, you trust Grimjaw when no reason to trust. You give freedom when could keep prisoner. This not evil. What do your people say about humans specifically? Humans? Grimjaw's eyes brightened with what might have been amusement. Korathians think humans weak. Small. Soft. Easy to break. He paused, studying Dr. Chen's face. But, you not weak. You walk to dangerous Warbeast cell. You free me during battle. Either very brave or very stupid. Dr. Chen laughed. Maybe both. That's pretty typical for humans, actually. They continued their tour, moving toward the family residential area. This was where coalition personnel who served long-term assignments lived with their spouses and children. The corridors here were decorated with colorful artwork, much of it created by the children themselves. Grimjaw stopped to examine a painting of a rainbow made by 6-year-old Marcus Thompson. Little ones make this, he asked. Yes. Children love to create things. It's how they learn about the world. Grimjaw touched the painting gently with one massive claw, careful not to damage it. Korathian children not allowed make art. Must train for war from age 5. That sounds harsh. Is necessary. Or was necessary. Now. Grimjaw trailed off, lost in thought. They reached the community center where several families were gathered. It was evening shift, and parents were spending time with their children before bedtime. Human children played alongside young aliens from a dozen different species. The scene was chaotic but joyful, filled with laughter and the sound of small voices speaking in multiple languages. Grimjaw froze in the doorway. His massive frame filled the entrance as he stared at the children with an expression of wonder and confusion. Dr. Chen realized this might be the first time he had ever seen children playing freely. They not afraid, he observed. Afraid of what? Of being weak. Of showing weakness. On Korathian worlds, children must always appear strong. Show fear or joy too much, and you punished. A small human boy, maybe 4 years old, came running toward them while chasing a ball. He stopped when he saw Grimjaw, tilting his head back to look up at the enormous creature. Instead of fear, his face showed pure curiosity. Wow, the boy said. You're really big. Are you a dragon? Grimjaw looked down at the child, his red eyes wide with surprise. No. Not dragon. I am Grimjaw. That's a funny name, the boy said with a giggle. I'm Tommy. Want to see my spaceship? He held up a toy made of colorful blocks. Tommy, his mother called from across the room, hurrying over. She stopped when she saw Grimjaw, clearly torn between protecting her child and not wanting to cause an incident. Dr. Chen quickly stepped in. It's okay, Mrs. Patterson. This is Grimjaw. He's our guest. Tommy's mother looked uncertain, but she could see that the massive creature was being gentle with her son. Grimjaw had actually crouched down to get closer to Tommy's level, though he was still enormous compared to the child. Is nice ship, Grimjaw said carefully, examining the toy. You build yourself? Aha! It has rockets and everything. See? Tommy made whooshing sounds as he demonstrated how the toy could fly. Other children began to notice Grimjaw. Their parents watched nervously, but the kids showed no fear at all. They gathered around him like he was an interesting new playground equipment. Dr. Chen watched in amazement as the feared Korathian warbeast found himself surrounded by curious human children. Are you a soldier? Asked Sarah, a 7-year-old with pigtails. Yes, Grimjaw replied honestly. My daddy's a soldier too, she said proudly. He protects people. Grimjaw struggled with the concept. Yes. Protect people. More questions came rapid fire from the children. What planet was he from? Did he have any pets? Was he married? Did he like ice cream? Grimjaw tried to answer them all, his voice growing gentler with each response. Dr. Chen noticed that other adults in the room were beginning to relax. If their children weren't afraid, maybe there really was nothing to fear. Some of the alien families approached as well, their own children adding to the group around Grimjaw. You know, said Commander Torres, a human officer whose family lived on the station, my daughter Emily has been asking about different alien cultures for her school project. Maybe Grimjaw could tell her about his people? Emily Torres was 6 years old with bright brown eyes and an infectious smile. She had been watching Grimjaw from across the room with the intense concentration that children bring to things that fascinate them. Now she approached slowly, not out of fear, but out of the careful respect she had been taught to show when meeting new people. Hello, she said politely. My name is Emily. What's your name? Grimjaw, he replied, crouching down again. That's a strong name. Are you really strong? Yes. Very strong. Emily considered this seriously. My teacher says being strong means protecting people who can't protect themselves. Is that what you do? Grimjaw's 4 eyes blinked slowly. No one had ever asked him that question before. In Korathian society, strength was about dominance, about proving you were better than others. But this little human girl was suggesting something completely different. I try, he said finally. Good, Emily said with satisfaction. Strong people should be nice people too. The conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the station's communication system. Dr. Chen to the command center immediately. Priority Alpha. Dr. Chen sighed. I have to go, but you're welcome to stay here if you'd like, Grimjaw. The massive creature looked around at the children who had gathered around him. Several were still asking questions, and others had begun showing him their toys and drawings. For the first time in his life, he was experiencing something he had no name for, the simple joy of being accepted without fear or judgment. I stay little while, he decided. Dr. Chen hurried to the command center, where Admiral Vexstar was waiting with a grim expression. The main screen showed a new tactical display with dozens of red dots. What am I looking at? She asked. Long-range sensors picked this up 20 minutes ago, the Admiral replied. It's the largest Korathian fleet we've ever detected. 300 ships, including a dozen of their super dreadnoughts. They're heading for the Centauri colonies. Dr. Chen felt her heart sink. The Centauri colonies were home to over 50 million civilians from dozens of species. If that fleet reached them, it would be a massacre. How long do we have? 18 hours. Our fastest ships can't possibly reach Centauri before the Korathians do. Even if we could, we don't have enough firepower to stop a fleet that size. What about calling for reinforcements? Admiral Vexstar shook his head. The main coalition fleet is tied up defending the core worlds. There's nothing available that could make a difference. Dr. Chen stared at the tactical display, her mind racing. What if Grimjaw could help? He guided our weapons during the battle here. Maybe he knows something about their fleet tactics that we could use. One creature against 300 ships? Dr. Chen, I appreciate your optimism, but... Sir, with respect, we don't have any other options. And, Grimjaw isn't just any creature. He's proven he can think strategically. Maybe he can come up with something we haven't thought of. The Admiral considered this. It was a desperate plan, but they were in a desperate situation. Bring him here. Let's see what he thinks. Dr. Chen made her way back to the community center, where she found a remarkable scene. Grimjaw was sitting cross-legged on the floor, completely surrounded by children. Emily Torres was sitting directly in front of him, reading from a picture book about Earth animals. Other children were drawing pictures of Grimjaw or asking him to tell them stories about space. And this one is called a dog, Emily was saying, pointing to a picture in her book. They're really friendly and they love people. Some people train them to help with work, but mostly they're just good friends. Grimjaw studied the picture carefully. This dog, it loyal? Oh yes. Dogs are super loyal. Once they love you forever and ever. Even if you make mistakes? Even if you're not perfect? Emily nodded seriously. Especially then. That's what love means. You care about someone no matter what. Something profound shifted in Grimjaw's expression. Dr. Chen could see it from across the room. This simple conversation about Earth animals was teaching him something about loyalty that 47 years of Korathian military conditioning had never shown him. Dr. Chen, one of the children called out. Grimjaw is teaching us words in his language. Indeed, she could hear Grimjaw carefully pronouncing Korathian words while the children repeated them back with varying degrees of success. Their laughter filled the air as they struggled with the alien pronunciation. Grimjaw, Dr. Chen called out. I'm sorry, but we need you in the command center. It's urgent. The massive creature looked disappointed. Must go now? Yes, but maybe you can come back later? Emily Torres stood up and looked at Grimjaw seriously. Will you come back and finish the story about the space pirates? I try, Grimjaw promised. Promise? Grimjaw looked down at the little girl's earnest face. In Korathian culture, promises were sacred things, never given lightly. But something about Emily's trust made him want to be worthy of it. I promise, he said solemnly. Emily smiled and did something that shocked everyone in the room. She stepped forward and hugged Grimjaw's massive leg, the only part of him she could reach. The feared warbeast stood perfectly still, afraid to move and accidentally hurt the small child. His red eyes looked down at her with an expression of wonder. Thank you for being nice to us, Emily said. As they walked to the command center, Dr. Chen noticed that Grimjaw seemed different. The angry tension that had been in his posture for months was gone. He moved with a new kind of purpose. The children changed something in you, she observed. They show me what fighting for, Grimjaw replied. Before, I fight because told to fight. Now I understand what protect means. In the command center, Admiral Vextar quickly explained the situation with the massive Korathian fleet heading for the Centauri colonies. Grimjaw studied the tactical display with his 4 eyes, his expression growing more serious with each detail. This not normal attack fleet, he said finally. What do you mean? Too big. Too many super dreadnoughts together. Korathians never risk so many ships in one place unless. Grimjaw paused, his eyes widening with realization. Unless what? Admiral Vextar demanded. Unless his cleansing fleet, Grimjaw said quietly. They not just attack colonies. They destroy everything. Every living thing. Make planets empty. The command center fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. This wasn't just another military attack. It was genocide. How do we stop something like that? Dr. Chen asked. Grimjaw was quiet for a long moment, studying the display. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight of terrible knowledge. Only one way to stop cleansing fleet, he said. Must cut off head. Kill the fleet master. But, fleet master always stays in center of formation, surrounded by strongest ships. Impossible to reach. What if we had inside help? Admiral Vextar asked. Someone who knew their communication codes, their ship layouts? Still impossible. They scan for coalition ships long before you get close. Grimjaw paused, then looked directly at the admiral. But they not scan for Korathian ship. Dr. Chen realized what he was suggesting. You want to go back to your people? Not go back. Go to stop them. Grimjaw's voice was firm. Give me small ship. Make look like Korathian escape pod. I get close to fleet master ship. I stop the killing. That's suicide, Commander Rylak pointed out. Even if you could get close, you'd never escape alive. Grimjaw turned his red eyes toward the commander. Little girl named Emily teach me today what loyalty means. What protect means. Sometimes protect means you not come back. Admiral Vextar was about to respond when another alarm sounded. The main screen shifted to show an incoming transmission. A Korathian face appeared, scarred and brutal, with the distinctive markings of a fleetmaster. Coalition station, the fleetmaster's voice boomed through the speakers. We know you have captured one of our warbeasts. Return Grimjaw to us immediately, or the colonies burn. Every eye in the command center turned to Grimjaw. The massive creature stared at the screen with an expression of recognition and disgust. Fleetmaster Croxon, he said quietly. He was my trainer when I was young. He the one who beat loyalty into me with pain and fear. The transmission continued. You have 1 hour to decide, coalition fools. Send Grimjaw to us, or watch 50 million civilians die for your stubbornness. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Dr. Chen could hear her own heartbeat. 50 million lives hanging in the balance, and their only hope was a former enemy who had learned about loyalty from a 6-year-old child. "I go," Grimjaw said simply. But not the way he expects. Admiral Vextar looked at the massive creature with new respect. "What do you need?" The Coalition engineers worked frantically to prepare a modified escape pod for Grimjaw's desperate mission. They had less than 40 minutes before Fleet Master Croxon's deadline expired. The small craft had to look damaged enough to pass as a genuine escape pod, while secretly carrying enough firepower to damage a Carathian superdreadnought from the inside. Dr. Chen stood in the engineering bay watching the preparations. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were sending Grimjaw to his death. The massive warbeast seemed calm as technicians fitted him with a disguised explosive device that looked like damaged armor plating. "The bomb is keyed to your DNA signature," Chief Engineer Martinez explained. "Only you can activate it. The blast will be enough to destroy the Fleet Master's ship from the inside, but I not survive," Grimjaw finished. "I understand." Admiral Vextar approached the group. "There has to be another way. We can't ask you to sacrifice yourself." Grimjaw's 4 red eyes met the Admiral's gaze. "You not ask. I choose. Little Emily show me today what loyalty means. What protect means. 50 million people worth one old warbeast." "You're not old," Dr. Chen protested. "You could have years ahead of you. A new life with the Coalition. A chance to help build peace instead of war." For a moment, Grimjaw's expression softened. "Would be nice. But if I not stop Fleetmaster, no peace for anyone. Cleansing fleet destroy colonies, then move to core worlds. Eventually they find this station again. Eventually they kill all the children." The mention of children seemed to steel his resolve. Dr. Chen thought about Emily Torres and all the other young ones who had welcomed Grimjaw without fear. They had seen something in him that even he hadn't recognized until today. "Grimjaw," she said quietly, "before you go, there's something I want you to have." She handed him a small device that looked like a simple communication unit. "It's a memory recorder. Some of the children asked me to give this to you. They recorded messages for you to listen to during your mission." Grimjaw took the device carefully in his massive claws. "They make messages for me?" "Emily organized it. She said she wanted you to remember that you have friends here." The warbeast was quiet for a moment. Then, he activated the device. Emily's young voice filled the air around them. "Hi Grimjaw. It's Emily. I just wanted to tell you that you're really brave and really nice. I know you're going to do something important, and I want you to know that we're all thinking about you. Tommy wanted me to tell you that he's going to build a spaceship toy for you when you come back. And Sarah says she's going to teach you how to play hopscotch. We're all going to be right here waiting for you, okay? So make sure you come back safe." Other children's voices followed. Marcus had drawn him a picture of a rainbow. Little Zara from the Centaurian families had sung a traditional lullaby from her homeworld. Each message was a small gift of innocence and hope. When the recordings ended, Grimjaw stood silently for several seconds. Dr. Chen could see moisture gathering in his red eyes. She hadn't known that Carathian warbeasts could cry. "I keep safe," he said finally, securing the device in a pouch on his armor. "I remember." The final preparations were completed just as the deadline approached. The disguised escape pod was ready, programmed with erratic flight patterns that would make it look like it was barely functioning. Grimjaw climbed inside, his massive frame barely fitting in the cramped space. "Remember," Admiral Vextar said through the communication system, "you need to get to the Fleetmaster's personal quarters. Intelligence suggests he keeps his command codes there. If you can access those codes and transmit them to us before you activate the bomb, we might be able to turn some of his own ships against him." "I understand," Grimjaw replied. "But if I cannot reach codes, I still activate bomb. Fleetmaster must die." Dr. Chen leaned close to the pod's communication pickup. "Grimjaw, I want you to know that what you're doing today, it's the most heroic thing I've ever witnessed. The children were right about you. You are one of the good guys. Thank you, Dr. Chen. You first person ever trust Grimjaw. I not forget." The escape pod launched from the station's emergency bay, immediately beginning its programmed erratic flight pattern. It looked like a genuine escape pod with a desperate occupant trying to reach the safety of the Korathian fleet. In the command center, the coalition officers watched the massive enemy fleet on their screens. 300 ships arranged in a perfect military formation, with the fleetmaster's super dreadnought at the center. It was a fortress of metal and energy weapons, surrounded by layers of protective vessels. Pod is approaching the perimeter, reported the sensor operator. Korathian ships are responding. They're bringing it aboard the flagship. Admiral Vextar felt a mixture of relief and dread. Relief that the first part of the plan had worked. Dread because now Grimjaw was alone in